Hello and welcome to Boardgame TV and this special October announcement. I love October. I love Halloween. It's my favorite time of the year. Um, as you can see, I have my pumpkins out. If I turn off some of these lights. I have my Halloween lights and stuff up. And today, I want to make a little bit of an announcement about some special stuff I have planned for this month of October. It's the best time of the year. Always has been for me, always will be. I love the horror movies that come on, the scary stuff. It's just great. And I like to try to incorporate some of that into my channel this month. So, let's talk about Nightmare, the video board game. Okay, so back in the early 90s, around 91 I believe, for those of you who aren't old enough to know, our medium of entertainment was VHS, video cassettes. We didn't have DVDs, we didn't have Blu-rays, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have none of this great technology we have now. Okay? And we didn't have online shopping, and you didn't have things advertised as much as they are now. The big king back in those days was Nintendo. Video games were all the big market, really. It really was. Nintendo. And board games back then, most of them, the majority of them, were owned by, toy companies. Hasbro, Mattel, Parker Brothers, stuff like that. But they were having a hard time competing with video games. They weren't the only ones. TSR was about to ramp it up. It's just the big thing was video games, and a lot of people were having a hard time competing with them. And virtual reality was kind of in at that time. And so board game companies kind of got the idea to start making board games, but to make them more interactive and have like a video cassette with them that tells a story or has somebody help you through or play against in the game. There were several of these that came out around that time. I know Dragon Strike was one. TSR did one. Dragon Quest or something. There were a couple, and to be honest, they were mostly all garbage. I know I played one of the fantasy ones, which was the main culprit of those VHS board games. And I remember not liking it. It was like filmed in hyper reality. I mean, they threw advertisements all on the comic books. They really pushed it. TSR pushed really hard for theirs too. But it just so happens one day I was at my local Toys R Us, screwing around, and I happened to see this Nightmare, the video board game, made by a couple of Cowboys Limited. And I was intrigued, so I bought it. Now, the premise of Nightmare the board game is that it has the videotape. It has this board right here, as you can see. There's the videotape, and you play against him, the gatekeeper. You and 2 to 6 other players can play against him and against each other. And the goal of the game is you randomly pick your character, and all 6 of the characters are based on a monster. Like Helen the Poltergeist, Countess Bathory the Vampire, Andy Chantraine the Witch, Khufu the Mummy, Baron Zambi the Zombie, and Guadavon, I don't know, I guess that's how to pronounce it, the Werewolf. So you pick one of those characters, and you're running around the board rolling dice. You start on your space, your gravestone, and you're trying to collect, I think it's either 4 to 6 keys. You have an hour to do so, because once you start the tape, you don't stop it. You put the tape in, and there's a timer on there, and it tells you what the time is, how long the game is going. And so you're playing against the other people, and then you're playing against the gatekeeper, and from time to time the gatekeeper will pop up, jump scare, stuff like that. And he'll ask you questions and make you do stupid things. It's cheesy, hilarious, but spooky fun. So once you get 6 keys, or once you get however many keys you need, you go to the center of the board. And at the beginning of the game, everybody was supposed to write down their greatest fear. And you write them down, your greatest fear, on these little thing they provide you. You shuffle them, mix them up, put them in the middle of the board. And if you get there with all your keys and you pull the top one and it's not your greatest fear, you win. You run, you stop the tape, and you've won. If it's your greatest fear, though, you lose your keys and you have to go back to your gravestone, and you're not going to win the game. It's about near impossible then, because it's hard to get keys in the game. Keys give you special abilities. Each key gives you a different special ability. It makes you more powerful, but it's still hard to get all of them. Just about every game we played, we were really pushing the time limit, because when he pops up, the gatekeeper pops up, you're supposed to stop playing and pay attention to him. It is hilariously fun. I've played that game many, many, many times through the 90s. Hell, even with my kids a few years back. And every time I played it, everybody had fun. Even the people who griped and were all sourpusses, but by the end of the game, they were really having fun. They wanted to win, because the music pumps up, his face changes to be more evil, the gatekeeper, time is coming out, he's constantly jump scaring. A whole lot of fun. However, because of the limited technology, there are a few faults. He's going to say the same thing because it's a VHS. He's going to say the same thing every time and do the same things every single time you play it. So if you have this game, or you've played it through several times, you're going to know exactly what he's going to do, when he's going to do it, and so and so. Like I said, it's limited on the technology because it's a VHS, but it's still fun, because even though I knew what he was going to do, when I played with new people who didn't know what he was going to do, I just got a riot watching these people. And you have to answer him when he says stop and he wants to talk to you. He'll ask for the old one or the young one or stuff like that, or what color are you, because you randomly pick one of your characters are each a different color, and you randomly pick a little number, and he'll ask you those things, and you have to say yes, my gatekeeper. And if you fail to do anything he says, or sometimes the big punishment in this game is you're banished to the black hole. You get to the black hole and you can't do anything. You just basically have to skip your turn until he frees you or something like that. Now, there are 2 sets of cards in this game as well that you can get. You can get fate cards, which can help you out getting a key and stuff like that, or give you extra turns. And then you have time cards. And if you choose a time, you get a time card, you're not supposed to let anybody know what it is, and it tells you at like 32 minutes and 33 seconds into the game, do this, do that. And so if the time is already passed, well, then the time card's wasted and you can't do anything with it. But if the time card hasn't passed, you're supposed to remember to hold on to it and do what it says when that time comes, and you can get the rewards from it. A really fun game, a blast. It's an hour long. The best thing about this is it's cheesy, fun spookiness. I mean, it has spooky music, a little bit of a spooky atmosphere. The guy gets spookier, but it's cheesy and it's fun and it's just great. I loved it, and I've kept it with me all these years. As you see, this box is beat up to hell and back. I transferred the video cassette to a DVD when I had a DVD burner, because nobody, who the hell has VCR anymore? Even if I had one, I don't think it'd still work. Well, anyways, the game was a success when it came out, and rightly so. So they made sequels. Now, they had planned to make sequels like Nightmare 2 here, which it's Baron Zamdy's your host this time, not the Gatekeeper. Baron Zamdy. It's the same actor playing him, but he's Baron Zamdy. So they plan to make a little mini expansion for each of these 6 characters in the game. Now, you still use the same board and the same dice and same player tokens. The only thing that's different is you get different time and fate cards. See, well, it's upside down. Different time and fate cards, and Baron. He's different than the Gatekeeper. He's out of all the little mini expansions that came out for Nightmare. This one's my favorite because he's a little bit more fun-loving hip hop. Because hip hop was big at the time. This came out in like '92. He's a little bit more fun-loving and kooky and stuff like that. He's funny, and it has a little bit more of a fun vibe to it. Not as serious as the Gatekeeper, but he's a little bit more fun. He jokes around a little bit more. Plays kooky music. So this one was my favorite, but this was incredibly fun. A year later, they came out with Nightmare 3. It's the Witch, and again, you use the board and the tokens and stuff from the base game. This game has different cards as well, time and fate cards, and you play against the Witch. And I think this one had, if I remember right, they introduced a new mechanic in this game, a new type of card in this game that you can get. So they tried to well, no, they tried to do something. I remember it had something a little different about it, just a little bit. Now the Witch comes off as, I hope nobody finds this derogatory, but she comes off as a bitch. She has none of the humor, is nowhere near as fun as the Baron. She's way more serious. It's a new actor lady playing. She starts off pretty, and then she turns into that. But it's still fun. It's still fun. Then, the next year later, they came out with Nightmare 4, where you're going against the vampire Countess Bathory, or whatever. And I remember this one, they did add a new mechanic. The Black Rose card, you still use the same base board, but they give you Black Rose cards, and there's something different about what you have to do in the middle, and Rose cards change things up a little bit. So they didn't stay the same. They did try to change things up. She starts out like that. She ends up like that. It's cheesy, but it's fun. Now she is more of an S&M freak. That's just what she plays like. She's like an S&M freak. And it's hilarious, but she don't want too young of people because she keeps going on about pain and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, anyways, by this time came around, when this one came out, they weren't doing so good financially. The games, for whatever reason, and you know, the 90s were a flavor of the month type of time back then, especially around the mid 90s. So they never came out with the other 3. They stopped at Nightmare 4, which is a damn shame. You know, if I could change time or something, I would have loved of them to come out with all 6 of the creatures, because they each play excuse me, they each play and act different enough and have a different theme to it. So you know, but we always still had fun playing these. But let me turn that off. But it was a damn shame, and I was really genuinely upset about it, because, and you know, these things were hard to find back then. It's not like you go order them off the internet or eBay. You had to. I remember this one. I had to constantly harass the people at Toys R Us about bringing this one from, like, the Panama City Beach. Toys R Us had one, and I had to get it shipped to mine. And I remember this one, I think I found at Spencer's, of all places. I can't even remember how I got this one. Well, anyways, the company decided they had a good idea, but they were going to retool and change something out. So the next year they came out with Atmosphere, the Harbingers. Now, this game has the Gatekeeper in it, from this one. It's the same actor too, but this time the board, as you can hear, is totally different. The board is like this. You have these little skulls, and here are all the characters, like the mummy and the poltergeist and the werewolves and stuff like that. This thing is a lot more complex than Nightmare, because these boards can flip, and you can go like to the Soul Rangers. These Soul Rangers are these like skeleton guys, and you're playing against them. You're playing against the Gatekeeper. You're playing against other people, and the Soul Rangers. Everybody starts the game as a Ranger and sprint to become a Harbinger. If you're left behind, you got to go on the sewer board, which is like the flip side. So you're a Soul Ranger, basically trying to become one of the 6 Harbingers, one of our 6 main characters, the vampire, the zombie, such and such. And it's different from the Nightmare. It's very different from the Nightmare. Really, the only thing is the same is the Gatekeeper. I mean, he acts like he does, but the game is a little bit more complex, and it plays totally different. It has much better components, and it's a lot more polished in that aspect. You can tell they went all out. And the game, when it came out, was a success. It was a big success. They actually advertised for it. I remember seeing advertisements for it in comic books and stuff like that, whereas the Nightmare games, I never really saw any advertisements for it. I just lucked up on it. But they advertised for this, and it did well. Now, I don't find this game as fun as this. I think the simplicity of it is what makes it better. But this still has a lot of spooky charm to it, and it's pretty complex. And it still has the same feel, charm and spookiness and cheesiness as the other games. But I think it's bogged down a little bit. But it's still very fun. It's still a great game. So anyways, they started coming out with booster tapes for this thing, where you get a new booster tape. It's the Gatekeeper, but this time you only have 45 minutes, and it makes the game harder. A year later, they came out with a sequel to this Atmosphere of the Soul Rangers. Okay, now you still use the same board to Atmosphere, but you're playing as these Soul Rangers, but this time, instead of being like a generic Soul Ranger, it has Soul Rangers are like personalities this time. And we have a new host, and it's this Dr. Mastiff. Now, he's a Soul Ranger. And it adds new cards and stuff like that, okay? And different mechanics to the game, though you're still using the same board. Unfortunately, I think that game, I didn't care for it. And the main reason why is, even though they really tried hard to make the 6 Soul Rangers and that have their own unique personality, they're not as cool as the Harbingers, like the Baron and stuff like that, especially if you played these games where you know their personality. Another thing is that Dr. Massive guy. He is terrible. I mean, he is every stereotype from the 90s. He's saying rad, or hip, and trying to be like the biggest gangster rapper type dude you've ever met. I mean, it's laughably horrible, man. And he is nowhere near, it's just nowhere near as cool. And they cut with these little like quick cuts and stuff with him, and the clock counting down, and have like this industrial 9 Inch Nails, but nowhere near as good as 9 Inch Nails type music in the back. They missed the mark with that, okay? And so, well, when they missed the mark with that, and that really didn't sell, the company stopped making stuff. And there it goes. It was over with. Well, at least so you thought. Fast forward many, many years to 2005. Okay? Technology has improved some. DVDs are the big thing. And so Atmosphere, the DVD board game, comes out. And it's basically a retread of the original Nightmare. Okay? You're the 6 Harbingers. You're playing against the Gatekeeper. You're playing each other. You trying to spin around on this board, which the board looks a little different. Dang. The board looks a little different than the original Nightmare board, but you still have the middle part and where you have your worst fear and stuff like that. So it's basically just an updated version of this with a different actor playing the Gatekeeper. Now, even though this thing is more updated and more polished, and it does have some cool little things that make it better than the original. For one, the background in when the Gatekeeper and all that stuff is a lot better. It changes. You go from like one hellscape to another hellscape. The Gatekeeper also, because of the technology, you at the beginning of the game you enter who you are, and he can specifically say you, and he does things like on random. So not every game is going to be the exact same with him. He's not going to say the same things every game or do the same things every game. He will eventually if you play it enough, but because of the DVD technology, it's not limited like the VCR or VHS technology. So that is some good things to it. However, this game lacks the charm and soul of this. It just does. I'm sorry. I don't. Maybe it's because I was older. Maybe it's because I had such a love for the Nightmare. But even though they improved a lot of things with this, it just doesn't have that cheesy, spooky fun atmosphere or feel to it that the original had. And so, but nevertheless, the game did okay. It sold okay. And there's actually a sequel to this called Khufu the Mummy, where you play as Khufu. Well, you don't play as Khufu. Khufu's the host instead of the Gatekeeper. And this actor who's the Gatekeeper, he's nowhere near as cheeseball good as this guy in this one. I mean, sure, they did a better makeup and all that stuff, but I do not think he's anywhere near as good as this guy. Well, anyways, in the other one, Khufu, it comes with a different board. It's a totally different game. The only really thing connecting this and Khufu is that it's basically in the same universe, and you're in Khufu's realm this time. He's like a big casino type thing on the Nile or in this pyramid, and you're playing against him and the other characters, and there's a different board, different cards. It's a totally different game. You have totally different objectives, and he plays differently as well. The problem with that one is that they didn't release the damn game in the United States. They released it in Australia, where this company is based out of, and United Kingdom. So I was never able to get a copy of it. And even if I was able to get a copy of it, the DVD for Khufu the Mummy is a Region 2 DVD. And of course, me living in the United States, I'm Region 1. And I didn't have the means or way to play the DVD anyways. I mean, you know, back then, I didn't know about, you know, how to change regions and stuff like that and all that kind of crazy stuff. So it was a big mistake on their part, really, to not release the game in the United States. Because not soon after Khufu the Mummy came out, the company ended it and hasn't made anything since. Now there has been rumors, or I read somewhere, that the company is getting back together. They announced at Gen Con that they're getting back together and they're going to redo the Nightmare or Atmosphere games and try to take another stab at it. I hope they do. I hope they're successful. I would love to see it where we finally get all 6 characters, because these 4 right here and including Atmosphere. Atmosphere really fleshes out his characters because he gives them a real story, especially on the ones you don't know about because we never got to see them in these. I would love to see them have a shot at it. So what I decided to do for this month is for Thursdays, not going to be throwback, well, not going to be tournament Thursdays, and maybe throwback Thursdays or October Thursdays. What I'm going to do is we're going to do a playthrough of Nightmare. And then on the next Thursday, Nightmare 2, Nightmare 3, Nightmare 4. So every Thursday of the month we're going to play a Nightmare. And then on Halloween we're going to do a special bonus where we're going to play Atmosphere for our spooky Halloween special. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't played these games in years, but they were so fun and good that they still leave a mark on me. I hope you watch. I hope you get to see me and my kids play these and see just how much fun and cheesy. Just remember, this is cheesy, but it's fun cheesy. And if you were to get, even if you were like me and you were 40 something years old and you were to get a bunch of friends around, grab a couple brews and say, hey man, let's play a spooky game this month for October. I guarantee, let's play an old game from the 90s called Nightmare. People are going to be like, ugh. But I guarantee you by the end of that game, and people are going to be laughing, having fun, and just all around, and they'll be, hey man, hey, can we ever play it again? Well, I got 3 sequels to it. Well, I technically 4. Oh snap! Can we play it? Can we play the sequel? It's the zombie. This time he's the host. Oh, really? I guarantee you that's going to happen because I had some. Even when through my teens, my 20s, I had some friends that were just basically douchebags. I don't know how they're supposed to say it. They didn't like fun stuff like that. That wasn't their idea of their fun. They had different ideas of fun. I don't want to get into it. But man, once again, play it. They enjoyed the hell out of it. And so, nothing better on a spooky night to play some good cheese horror board games from the 90s. This will take you on a time warp. I guarantee you, if you were alive and well in the 90s and they were an impressionable time for you as they were for me, this will take you back on a little time warp. As far as the availability of these games, well, I know that you can, some of them, like maybe the Soul Rangers and the booster tapes, are a little harder to get. Maybe this one is a little bit more pricey because I think this was like only a limited amount came out for this one. I think they produced so much, but then they had to quit because they weren't making any money. I hope you watch, and if you see, and then if you decide to go and say, hey man, that's really fun, I like to play something like that with my kids or my friends, look on eBay. I know eBay has listings for these. I don't know what the prices are on them. I don't think they're too bad. But you better make sure you have a VCR or a way to burn a VCR to a DVD like I did, because that's the only way you're going to be able to play these. I mean, I guess you could technically play it without, but what's the fun of that? So I hope you come by and watch and enjoy and see me and my children make fools out of ourselves and have some good cheesy spooky fun. So that's my announcement. I hope maybe I might do some more special announcement stuff for October because I love this month so much, and do some fun stuff. But that's what we're going to be on Thursdays. Thursdays are Nightmares, the board game, and Atmosphere on Halloween. So I hope to see you then. Until then, have fun. So, real quick though, before I really sign off. I'm just going to open up this. And I'm just going to go a little bit over real quick. So you put your player tokens in this bag here. And these are the player tokens. See, like Baron Zambi, he's going to be white. And you put them in the bag and you pick. 3 of them are the cross type gravestones and 3 of them are the regular type. Then you put a number. The number's in the bag. And you pick the number. And then you put it in your gravestone. So you'll be a color and a number. And then depending on what color you are, I guess it is 4. No, it is 6. 6 keys. Like these 6 keys belong to Khufu. And okay, so you put them to the side. And when you get a key, you'll randomly pick one. And see, they have special abilities. This key unlocks a black hole. If an opponent lands on your gravestone, toss the coin. Heads, the opponent is banished to black hole. Okay, and so your goal is to get all your keys. And of course, there's a coin that you'll flip, heads or tails. And then what you'll do, after you get all your keys, you'll go to the middle of the board. And you see these things right here, they give you. And like somebody wrote spiders on this one from an old time we played it. Somebody wrote death of a child. Getting a little too serious, but okay. And it comes with this little grease pen, and you can magic erase this so you can play multiple times. And you'll stack all these, shuffle them and stack them in the middle. And then if you get to the middle, you will draw the top one, like I said. And if it's your worst nightmare, you're screwed. If it's not your worst nightmare, you'll win. There's the video cassette it comes with. This tape has been recorded in hi-fi. Always rewind and return. Boy, if you weren't around in the 90s, regularly clean the heads on your video cassette recorder. You mess with the tracking button. God, I remember I had to mess with the tracking button. So here's the instructions. It's really not hard, and so you'll see how there's the timer, and you have your time and your fake cards and stuff like that. And real quick, I'll show you a good real close up of the board. It's tracking. Yeah, I used to mess with the tracking on those videos. Clean your VCRs and chewed up. But there was something charming about VHS. I just don't know. You go to your movie gallery or Blockbuster or local video store, and you remember you rent a bunch of videos and you watch. So as you can see, you have chance, fate. I'm sorry, I forgot about chance cards. You have chance cards, fate cards, and time cards. You put them there. There's the things. You'll start. And if you land on a space time, you'll grab a time card. If you land on a space fate, you'll take a fate card, chance, and stuff like that. And then you got to get to the middle here. And I think you have to roll something. I'll have to go over it, but and stuff like that. And there's the black hole and stuff like that. It's very simplistic. Atmosphere made it very much more complex, but it's very simplistic. The charm of this is just the spooky atmosphere and the gatekeeper. So I just wanted to show you that real quick, just to give you a little what it's like. And trying to get these keys, to get the key cards. You get to get those key cards, you can get a key. And yeah, I put it on a DVD because I don't have VCR anymore. I haven't had a VCR in ages. Hell, man. For those of you VCR, you should remember Beta. Beta. Man. God. Beta. Well, anyways, with the expansions, they just come with a little, there's that, a VCR. They don't come with a board or anything, but they come with some new cards and stuff like that. And that's basically it to it. And little rules. Yo, when the Baron says thrill me, you must stand up and say, yo Baron, I can dig it. Yeah, he's a lot more, like I say, he's a lot more comical. But it's fun. She makes you squeal like a pig and says yes, and this one's like, say yes mistress or something like that. I don't know. But anyways, I hope to see you then. I hope to see you on Thursdays. And hopefully this will be a good spooky fun month for you as well as it is for me. So until then, I'll see you and have fun.